make sure that's gone. Okay, looking good.
Application.
Wait, that's weird.
Select an app. Google Chrome.
What is? What's weird?
As soon as you made us live, right?
Yeah, you showed this.
As soon as that happened, it started showing me A Move TV instead of us.
That happened to me on Friday, and it was showing Scott Johnson.
It showed me one of the hosted channels. But all right. Refresh and you'll see us. All right, here we go. Recording in 3, 2. Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Hey. Oh, look, it's Dr. Kiki.
Whoa! Where'd you come from?
No, I come from the Internet.
And it's a good day indeed.
On the Internet. Dr. Kiki is going to fill our head with a story about robotic controlled brain arms.
Yep. Or brain controlled robot arms.
Brain controlled. There you go. See, that's why you do the science.
I do try.
I am going to set you up. I've got some notes in our Google Doc. I'll set you up with a Princess Bride joke, and then you explain what's going on with this story because I can't wait.
Okay. I can't wait either. And anytime you can use a Princess Bride joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time. Yeah,
That's a tease, folks. So our new Twitch channel is shaping up. I have added, and you folks out there tell me if this becomes annoying. I just saw it happen briefly, but I have added an Amazon extension that takes snacks and gadgets that we enjoy and overlays them on the video stream. So you may see my wireless laser printer. You may see hot tamales.
There you go.
It's more rather than less, one hopes. Yeah.
We also have a suggestion box and a countdown to live and an image of the moment. Oh, so the Amazon thing only shows up when you hover over the screen. And it says, use this link to support me. And then it shows, oh, look at this. It's got like kipper snacks and whatchamacallits and hot tamales.
Things that Tom likes.
Yeah. Well, no, hot tamales for you.
Yeah, it's true.
Hot tamales for me, too.
We've established that I like them, but does anyone not like them?
I don't really like them.
What do you eat at the movies?
Popcorn.
Okay, well, so do I. But
and hot tamales.
It's the perfect duo.
It is.
I can't eat during movies. Distraction.
What?
It's because
I don't like to drink liquid because I'm afraid I have to go to the bathroom and then I'll miss something. Movie. Yeah.
So this is the thing. If it's popcorn, I'll get like one of the unpopped or undercooked kernels, and they'll be wedged between a molar and like a cuspid.
That is distracting.
And then you gotta work it out, and then you're missing scenes. Also,
but it's dark, so nobody cares if you.
Well, that's the other thing. It's dark, so I feel like I have to brush it. Like it's like sleeping, so I need to have my teeth brushed or something.
Oh, okay, interesting.
You could just bring one of those little pocket flossers. You just pull it out of your pocket, floss. You're done.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was like, because I was complaining on a GDI here, I think, recently, where I'm like, got a couple molars where it's just if something's gonna get stuck. They always get stuck there, and it can be really annoying, if I'm not in a place where dental floss is nearby. And she was like, you just, take that with you, in your car. And I was like, flossing in my car?
Yeah.
Where does it go afterwards, though? Because, it's like,
goes in.
You gotta dispose of the floss.
Well, you got your little garbage bag in your car, right?
Okay. All right.
Are you talking about the little plastic flossers with the bit of floss between it? Because that's
good. But but anything that you're flossing with is you're flossing to get something out that is garbage in some respects. Well, you don't just want to put it back in your purse or anything like that.
Well, no, you keep like a little Ziploc baggie for your trash or a bag. That's what I do. I keep like.
Well, you guys are one step ahead of me. I guess I need a little
kids.
trash
I need
bag
to be able to store garbage somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
The place where you store garbage can also be behind and under the driver's seat.
Not in my car, because that's where my dog sits.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's a garbage bag, he's very interested. We could work it out though. We'll work something out.
I'm just only thinking of disgusting things that you would do with stuff you pull out of your teeth.
Sculpt a masterpiece.
I mean,
You could recycle them. Make a little cake.
a compost.
Compost.
A flom post. Floss post.
I mean, probably a pretty good idea actually, but yuck. I mentioned I was going to go to the dentist yesterday, and I rescheduled my appointment for the following week, and it's a new place. And they seem great. The receptionist is very helpful. They sent me over the new patient thing that I could fill out all online before I got there to speed up the process, and they're lovely, but lots of questions asked of me, and some of them are judgmental questions. Like, yeah, I floss every day. I do, but there are other things I don't do as much of, and like there was a question like, do you drink coffee through a straw? And the answer is no, because I'm not a monster. but I know why
Right.
they're asking, and that's if you want your
Stain.
teeth to be whiter, then that's the way to do it. Yeah.
Oh,
So-
and also to pay for the whitening service that they'll eventually just roll out in a casual conversation.
I mean, I'm a fan of white teeth, but I'm not going to drink my coffee through a straw.
You
I'm just not
know,
going
if
to.
they need to bleach your
No.
teeth, I don't know. To me, bleaching just sounds like, oh, we're going to strip enamel off your teeth. It's like, no.
It's not though. Bleaching doesn't strip. It
It
bleaches.
can. You can.
Well, I
you can.
suppose
You
if-
can. You can bleach in a way that's abrasive to the point that it
Sure,
actually
sure.
hurts your
But think,
enamel.
Like bleaching your shower doesn't erode your tile, although it can if you use too much bleach. Right? It can be.
Right.
It can erode
Yeah.
things. But
Yeah.
it doesn't erode your clothes when you use the right amount of bleach in your laundry, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Sensible bleaching, everybody.
Sensible bleaching
Or none at
sandpaper.
all. If you don't care, then as long as you got nice teeth, as long as they're clean,
I just
a variety of shades.
use a little sandpaper there.
I do sometimes worry about the drugstore over-the-counter bleaching because I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe it's fine, but if it's one of these things that's designed not to work that well, so that I'll keep buying it and kind of ruin my teeth over time, I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
And the dentist, for probably obvious reasons, are always like, yeah, don't do that. Don't use those. Come to us.
Come to us, and we'll give you the same thing. No.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have always had such a mistrust of dentists. I don't know why. But then I read an article recently about these dentists. This one dentist bought an older dentist's practice, and as he's going through and talking to the patients and going through the records, he's like, "Why did you have so many root canals? Why did you have so many of these really invasive procedures done? What the heck is going on?" And it turns out the one dentist was like fully fleecing his clients.
Oh, yeah.
Just
I mean,
telling them
that's
they
it.
needed all this stuff. Yeah.
That's a thing that, of course, not all dentists do that. In fact,
No.
probably a very small minority, but it does happen.
It
Oh no,
happened.
my previous dentist tried to hard sell me on a professional grade sonic toothbrush. I was like, it seems I'm not shelling $500 for a toothbrush. Sorry, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I used an electric toothbrush for a while. I think my mom gave it to me as a gift at some point, and I don't really know what happened to it. I liked it.
I
it
used a
wasn't hard to
Sonicare.
like keep plugged in or anything. I just somehow went back to the regular
I
toothbrush.
think that was the only one. Supposedly, the only one that was recommended was the Sonicare. Like the rest of them weren't.
I think that's what it was. And it did feel like it was doing a good job. And you get your little buzz when it's time to switch sides, and it's probably under my bathroom sink.
Probably.
And I just haven't looked at it in a while, and I've made up a story that it's missing. Yeah.
Instead of going and buying a replacement toothbrush head, I'll just forget about it and buy a new
I'll just-
toothbrush.
I'll just get a disposable one.
Just a
Yeah.
toothbrush.
That I got on a plane.
I alternate between that and a regular toothbrush. You gotta learn how to, because I can't get the far back with the electric toothbrush behind
Just
it.
because of the size or the way that it's shaped?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, just at the angle, I don't think it would do super good job. So I alternate. One day I do that. The other day I use a manual toothbrush.
One
All
thing.
right, I'm going to start our YouTube simulcast that we're doing for 1 week to remind the YouTube people that we're not there anymore, even though
Not
we're
over
there when
here.
we tell them that. So here we go.
Do it.
Now I will be streaming something if that affects my bit rate. Hey, we're not here. Okay, if you're watching us on YouTube, this isn't happening. It's all an illusion.
You're having a meltdown.
No, what's really happening is that we are moving our live streaming over to Twitch because the Hangouts on Air system doesn't. We just don't have confidence that it's going to stick around. So we wanted to find an alternative solution. Roger and Amos did some hard work to figure out how to stream us to Twitch. Twitch has a lot of cool things that you can do when you're live streaming. So twitch.tv/gooddayinternet to watch us live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. We will continue to post Daily Tech News Show to youtube.com/Daily Tech News Show. But if you want Good Day Internet, the audio and video will be available to patrons at patreon.com/DTNS, or you can watch live at twitch.tv/gooddayinternet.
Yes.
Now,
Well put, Tom.
we only have 2 minutes to
2
fill your
minutes.
heads with
Teeth
whatever we
information.
We're talking all about the teeth.
Kiki, before we start, when was the last time you were on the show? I feel like it's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months.
Couple months, yeah.
Yeah.
I think 2.5, 3
Yeah.
months.
So it was in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
it's not
Well,
that far back.
The days
but-
blend together sometimes. How's life up north?
Oh, it's good.
Good.
We've hit our spring stride. The roses are in bloom right now. We're in the middle of the Rose Festival.
Oh, I love the roses of Portland.
Yeah,
They're really beautiful.
they are. And they smell so good. It's just, yeah, it's lovely. It's, it's that wonderful time before the heat of the summer actually kicks in. But it's great up here. And my son is almost out of school for the year, and it's going to be real summer pretty soon.
Because we were talking about spring and roses when you said my son, I thought you meant the sun.
My son. It's my
Your
son in the
son.
sky. It's my
And it's school.
my day
son.
star.
Yeah, in summer vacation, out of school, and shining on me.
What's the highest it normally gets during the summer?
Oh, it can get up into the hundreds.
Yeah.
Usually not super high, but like 102, 103 around
That's hot.
there.
Yeah.
It's pretty hot, but
I was in Portland
usually
once
90s.
in the summer, and there was a heat wave.
Yeah.
And it was hot
Yeah.
and kind of muggy even.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Are y'all ready to talk about robots? and
Let's
Apple?
do this.
Yay. Apple is a robot.
Apple is a robot. Apple is a robot. All right. We yesterday we mistakenly mentioned Patrick Beja would be with us today too. He's
My bad.
not, except he kind of is. In fact, we're going to start the show with Patrick Beja. So here we go. In 3, 2.
Hey, Tom, Sarah, Roger, and Kiki. Patrick here. Unfortunately, I'm still off the show. I apologize. I will be back next week for E3, but I did want to send a quick message about the Apple sign-in feature that was announced at WWDC. Sign in with Apple, which is going to be in competition with sign in with Google, Facebook, and everything. You know what it's about. I just wanted to mention that I think it is the biggest announcement of the conference. It solidifies Apple as a company that sells essentially data privacy protection as much as anything else, or maybe not as much, but in large part. And I think this is massive. No other company has the weight and power to offer that kind of alternative. And I think it's a really big deal. I would have loved to be there to talk about it more yesterday or even today, but alas, that's going to have to do for me. Love you all. I miss you, and I'll be back soon.
We miss you too, Patrick Beja. This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, June 4th, 2019 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Yes, indeed, Edu. It is time for some tech news, and we have got some cool stuff. We're going to follow up with some Apple clarifications, things that always come out after they do their keynotes. But Dr. Kiki from This Week in Science is also here. Dr. Kiki, what are you going to tell us about?
I'm talking about fingers and robots. Yeah.
So it's a digital story.
It's a digital story. Brains and robots and fingers. There we go.
I cannot wait to hear more about this. Let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Enhanced tracking protection, which blocks cookies from a blacklist of thousands of third-party trackers, is now on by default in new installations of Firefox. It'll become the default for existing users in the coming months as well. Mozilla also announced improvements to its Facebook container extension and released a Firefox desktop extension for its password keeper, which is now called Lockwise, formerly called Lockbox.
The leader of the U.S. House of Representatives Antitrust Subcommittee, Representative David Cicilline, announced a probe of tech companies to determine if they stifle competition and harm consumers. Seems to be a popular thing to say these days.
Amazon users on Android in the US and Japan can now digitally try out different shades of lipstick using live mode on their front-facing camera. An iOS version is slated for launch later this year. Live mode uses AI-powered data from brands and images and descriptions aggregated from social media. It's powered by ModiFace, which L'Oreal bought last year.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Tim Cook and his reaction to all this stuff about antitrust investigations in response to the report that the Department of Justice has now taken jurisdiction to investigate not just Apple, but Google, Google as well. And Tim Cook told CBS News, with size, I think scrutiny is fair. I think we should be scrutinized. But if you look at any kind of measure about is Apple a monopoly or not, I don't think anybody reasonable is going to come to the conclusion that Apple's a monopoly. Following a Supreme Court decision that developers had standing to sue Apple over the App Store, California app developer Donald R. Cameron and Illinois' Pure Sweat Basketball have alleged in federal court in San Jose, California, that Apple's App Store is, in fact, anti-competitive. So Tim Cook saying, we're not. People are now going to court to say you are, and it looks like there's going to be an investigation. We just heard about a congressional investigation of tech companies in general. So this will be a story for a while.
Yeah, Tim Cook is going to say this whether or not anybody at Apple thinks that Apple might be a monopoly. So that's it's not a surprising quote, and it's not really all that interesting anyway. But I think what the courts have granted developers to move forward with is going to be interesting.
Yeah, Dr. Kiki, do you have any thoughts on whether you consider Apple anti-competitive or not?
Well, I mean, I think it's debatable. All these really large companies, they control multiple markets. And, you know, it's arguable that Apple has to control its marketplace. It has to control its software. It has to control the apps and the hardware to be able to maintain the Apple-ness of its product. But then again, you know, could it all be split apart and could that be maintained? So all of these Google, Facebook, Apple, these walled gardens, the walls need to come down, and we need to bring them down on all of them, or we're just going to have to let them keep going.
The Hamilton Public Library in Hamilton, Ontario, has joined the Internet Archive's Open Libraries program. The program uses controlled digital lending, or CDL, to make digital copies of almost 1 million print texts available worldwide. Libraries can't lend more than the number of physical copies that they hold, and restrictions also prevent copying or redistribution. Otherwise, very cool.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I had not heard about controlled digital lending. Archive.org has so many projects going on. It's not surprising. But the idea behind this is that if you want to lend out a copy of a book, but that person can't get the physical copy, maybe the interlibrary loan doesn't work for this particular person, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to scan a digital version of it and make it available to anyone who has an internet connection worldwide. The idea is that once that has happened, you can't give it to anybody else. So you're trying to fend off any kind of exploitation of this for copyright infringement. And when you join CDL, Archive will look at your entire collection as a library and tell you which texts they already have scanned in. So you don't even have to scan those. You can just, authenticate that you have those and only scan the ones that nobody else in the system had.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think moving forward, this is going to allow interlibrary lending, allow much greater movement of works around the world and greater information sharing.
Yeah, and if people don't know, the knee-jerk reaction might be like, well, this will get squashed. But libraries and digital content have been working very well.
Yeah.
Check your local library and find out what apps they have, because they probably have one that allow you to check out audiobooks and ebooks and things, and even movies and TV shows.
There's also, I checked out my local library branch recently. It's right down the street from me. It's real nice. And they don't kick you out. They don't make you order coffee if you want to use the Wi-Fi. It's a lovely co-working space. And sure, your library may vary, but yeah, the libraries are thriving, and they've got a lot of great resources for the community.
And librarians have been working on this, information, on information sciences for years, and how do we maintain copyrights? This is something that is crucial to library sciences, and to literature and information sharing moving forward.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Hoopla app that the LA Public Library uses right now, and I can get RBG or Pokemon the first movie, and just I can watch them right on my phone right now with my library card.
Yep.
Spotify Stations is now available in the United States after launching on iOS in Australia last month and on Android in Australia last year. The lightweight app offers easy access to curated playlists with a more radio-like experience rather than your customized libraries and playlists. So users can personalize stations by selecting a favorite artist, say, but you can't pick every song that goes in them. A favorites playlist based on the user's interests also exists in the app. It's very similar to the way Pandora was for years in its early days. Free users of Stations will hear ads and can't skip tracks, but if you're a Spotify Premium user, you get unlimited skips and ad-free listening. Over in the main Spotify app, 5 curated playlists of podcast episodes are going to start showing up for about 5% of the users in Argentina, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Sweden, the US, and the UK. Themes of the lists include comedy, true crime, geek culture, walking, motivational, so I guess it's stuff to listen to while you're walking, and relaxing or mindfulness. A couple things going on here. One is sort of the lightweight app where you're like, I don't want to make choices, or I don't have a phone that has a lot of storage on it, and I want to be able to listen to Spotify stuff. And the other one is good for us, trying to get more people into podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a Spotify user, but I am an Apple Music user, and I often will just hit the radio button because it's like, give me a genre that I like, because I am a radio user. I like the element of surprise, and I'm not so good about downloading a bunch of albums and keeping up on all of that and curating my own playlists. So I can see why Spotify is like, why not? You're going to hear ads if you're a free user, just like you would be on regular Spotify. Give folks another option if for some reason the full app is a little bit overwhelming. And yeah, as far as podcast themed playlists, I love this. I want to know what geek culture is that Spotify considers geek culture.
I know what I consider it to be, but yeah,
right, sure. But
Spotify thinks it is.
But often these sorts of things they're a little hit and miss. But I will find something that I wouldn't have found otherwise, and I'm happy to know about it. I also like walking, so motivation is good too.
Yeah, especially if it motivates you to walk.
But Spotify is now has opened up its own podcasting platform, and is probably going to be allowing having its own specially featured podcasts. So I'm wondering, who will these curated lists be made up of, like you are, Sarah? I mean, are they pay for play? Are they podcasts that Spotify employees just really like? How do you get into these lists? And seriously, is a motivational walking podcast like, you can do it, just take one more step, Keep
I don't know if
walking.
it's about
You
walking.
can
That's a
go
really good
under
question.
that
Yeah.
tree.
It might just be something that's got a good beat, so you're power walking, like
Yeah.
like a robot
You are
along
great,
with it.
and you can do it, and keep on going.
There
Well,
we go.
and
DTNS turns into walking podcast.
Spotify has acquired some original content companies,
Yeah.
Gimlet Media being
Yeah.
one of them. So
Mhm.
one would think these will be prominently featured. But
Yep.
as somebody who's always been trying to get Apple to pay attention to my podcast over the years with varying results,
Mhm.
I know that that sort of curated editor's pick stuff can be a little confusing for the rest of us.
Well, folks, if you get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, that means you're subscribed to dailytechheadlines.com, and it's working. If you're like, wait, I don't get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, well, my goodness, go over to dailytechheadlines.com and take care of that right now. All right, we're going to do a lightning round of Apple aftershocks, things that came out after the WWDC keynote yesterday, starting with iOS developer Steve Moser noting that 9to5Mac confirming that the first beta of iOS 13 includes an asset package used for pairing devices by proximity, similar to how AirPods and HomePods work. The product type, though, is Tag 1,1. Sounds like a tile type system. Another asset found in the beta shows a mock-up of a white circle with a blue border around it, matching the description of Bluetooth tags that Apple is said to be developing to work with its Find My app. So Apple might be coming up with its own version of tile.
Well, I don't know. I've mentioned on a previous show that I no longer use a tile for more than kind of a paperweight that's part of my keychain. However, I know that there are many people who love this feature, and if you want to keep track of your stuff, keys or otherwise, then it makes sense based on what we heard yesterday that Apple would be doing this.
Yeah. Lightning round. Kiki, what do you think? Yes, no, I don't care.
I don't really care.
Fair enough. Moving on.
Fair enough. We all have opinions. Ars Technica got the official word from Apple that iTunes for Windows will continue to work and be supported just like it is now. We wondered about this yesterday. Apple didn't say what would happen to it in the future, however, but for now it sounds like it's going along. Also, Apple Music and macOS Catalina will access existing music libraries, including rips from CDs and MP3s and things added from other sources, along with your iTunes purchases. And non-iTunes files can continue to be synced to the clouds.
Yeah. I call this story, everyone calm down. It's going to be just fine.
Good advice.
Developer Steve Troughton-Smith notes that in iPad OS, you can plug in a USB mouse and it works with an assistive touch feature. There does seem to be a Bluetooth device section in the pointing devices settings as well, but that has not been confirmed to work yet. So don't get too excited about Bluetooth mice with your iPad. But it looks like with iPad OS, when it comes out, you'll be able to plug in a mouse on your iPad. Which
Thumb drives, mice. It's a whole new world.
Right. It's like almost like a little computer.
Almost, not quite.
Well, it's funny too, because my first reaction was like, would I want a mouse? And the answer is, yeah. I'm just so used to not being able to use it that way that now I'm wondering why I would use it that way.
I know they're doing some windows, but if they could do like almost an infinite number of windows overlapping on the screen that I could move around with that mouse, that would be something.
I'm imagining it using it as a teleprompter, right? If you had a mouse right next to you, you could just scroll right through.
I use mine as a teleprompter.
Yeah.
Would it be better with a mouse?
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Well, we can try it out when the version is available. Developer Ben Sandofsky notes that in its updated App Store review guidelines, Apple writes, quote, "Sign in with Apple will be available for beta testing this summer. It will be required as an option for users and apps that support third-party sign-in when it's commercially available later this year." This seems to imply that if you use Google or Facebook sign-in, you will also be required to offer Apple sign-in if you want to be in the App Store.
Oh boy. You remember those stories about anti-competitive behavior?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this is a clear example of anti-competitive behavior, but you can be sure developers are going to be upset about this and complain that this is anti-competitive behavior because they won't want to have to implement this if they don't want to implement it.
Well, I mean, is that anti-competitive though? It's offering another option that Apple has laid out as for many people, better option. Well, it's forcing the developer to offer it. It's not forcing me as a user to use it.
No, but they're saying to a developer, if you want to be in the App Store and you want to offer a competitor sign-in, you also have to offer our sign-in.
We want to compete. We want to play.
I think Apple may have a point that the way that its sign-in works is so different than at least Facebook and Google, to use two other examples, that it has a point.
Well,
but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I can choose to not use anybody else's sign-in and run it myself, and I don't have to do Apple sign-in. It's only, according to this, if I'm using Google or Facebook sign-in, that then I have to use Apple sign-in. I don't get a choice if I decide to use anybody third party. That's
And isn't this being argued as a, hey, well, if you want to stay within the privacy of our system and not be snooped on by other outside interests, and that's great.
Oh, that's
our
definitely what
Apple
Apple's doing.
Yeah, our Apple users want this.
Apple also added a line that in limited cases, companies using multiple device management or MDM for parental controls may not sell, use, or disclose to third parties any data for any purpose and must commit to this in their privacy policy. If you missed it, they said you can use MDM for parental controls. Made a big deal of how MDM shouldn't be used for parental controls, which I found reasonable. And now they're saying, okay, well, as long as you abide by these rules, we'll go ahead and soften that. Apple was previously restricting companies who were criticizing them for anti-competitive behavior for doing that. So it seems like they had a little change of heart there.
Well, like Tim Cook said, nobody would think that we're a monopoly if they're reasonable.
Yeah.
We're not anti-competitive. Come on. Last week, Apple raised the limit for app downloads on cellular connections to 200 megabytes. This is a leftover from when mobile carriers were worried about data congestion and all the plans had data download limits. 9to5Mac reports that iOS 13 beta shows a card warning a download is over the limit if you're on cellular, but you can download it anyway if you want to. There's also a setting to just always allow downloads no matter the size.
Oh, that's nice. Giving me a choice. I like that. Yeah. And of course, with every new OS release, there will be some hardware that can't support it. And the list of hardware that will not get iOS 13 is as follows: iPhone 5S, iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus, iPad Air, iPad Mini 2, and iPad Mini 3. Engadget notes that means that the iPhone SE, the 6S, and the 6S Plus are now the oldest devices to support iOS 13. All right, that's our Apple lightning round. Hope you feel more well-informed about some of the things that weren't in the WWDC keynote. And now, Dr. Kiki has brought us a story about how the six-fingered man from Princess Bride has paved the way to let us control robotic limbs with our thoughts.
Yeah.
If I have that right?
I think you've got the general idea there. Yes. So it's not necessarily a story about the six-fingered man, but researchers have been trying to figure out how people born with extra fingers actually move those extra fingers, what parts of their brain are involved in that extra processing, and does that extra processing actually create a load on the brain and what it's achieving with motions of the body. And the end goal here is maybe we can use the information gained from figuring out how polydactyl people actually use their brains to move their limbs to help people use extra limbs that are artificial. So robotic limbs potentially. Could surgeons be more easily trained to use robotic arms? Could astronauts be used to could astronauts be trained to use extra limbs as well for missions? And would understanding how the brains of people who are born with more digits help us do that? It's really exciting. So the question, according to the researchers who just published in Nature this week, they had said, even though we've known about polydactyly in people and cats, and you might know your six-fingered orange cats, but people also are born with more than 5 digits on their fingers and toes at times, but nobody has ever looked into whether or not it's muscle or nerve inputs from the surrounding digits that control that sixth digit, or if there's actual brain input coming in to control number 6. And so the researchers looked at people tying their shoes, working keyboards, doing all sorts of tasks with their 6-digited hands. And in the case of tying shoes, they could tie their shoes one-handed. So there's even a manipulation benefit to having extra fingers.
I found this fascinating because part of the story was about how it's hard to find people with polydactylism because it's usually corrected, quote unquote,
Yeah.
because people see it as a birth defect. And so they found a woman and her son who both had an extra finger between the thumb and forefinger, and they
Yeah.
could do things like tie their shoes with one hand.
Tie their shoes one-handed. And we were talking about, we're talking about devices and our screens. Is there the possibility that with 6 fingers, you have more control over your iOS device?
Pinch to zoom, any
Right.
six-figure gestures. So there's not very
I
many
don't
people
know.
going to be able
There's
to do that.
there's got to be some advantages. Now, I know with polydactyl cats, which is fairly common,
Yeah.
it's almost always symmetrical. You know, if you're
Mhm.
polydactyl, it's both paws.
Yep.
With humans, that's not the case, right?
I think it depends. It definitely there are different ways that it can be expressed. If it is expressed in a basic gene mutation that is part of the symmetrical development of the person, then yes, it's on
Then it
both
would be
sides.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a mutation that only occurs on later in development, then you're going to get it only on one side or the other.
Because it'd be really interesting to have somebody who, again, if it was not corrected and it was only on one
Mhm.
side, to explain, this is what I can do with the extra digit that I can't do
Yeah.
on the other hand, because you've got something to test against.
Right.
And to get back to to what I think the technology aspects of this article is, they identified, Kiki, if I have this right, they identified the part of the brain that gets devoted to this extra digit. And because of that, they're like, oh, well, that's kind of flexible up there. If you have an extra digit, you just use a part of your brain that would be used for other things otherwise, maybe other digits. And so maybe
Mhm.
we can figure out how to do that in people who don't have extra fingers or extra toes to control something else. That's when you get the
Yeah.
Doc Ock situation,
Exactly.
where you're controlling these external uh, things to you. So you could
Mhm.
have, like you said, a doctor with a third robotic arm to assist in the surgery that he wouldn't have to talk to. He could just control it
Mhm.
himself or
Yeah,
herself.
yeah, and if we're talking the future of brain control interfaces, if you just have to imagine it in your brain, it would make the reality of it so much simpler. Yeah, and so in our brain, the motor cortex, when we lose limbs, we know that the parts of the brain that used to control those parts of the body do start to get encroached upon by other areas. Our brains never wanna just let brain brain tissue go fallow. Our brain is always trying to maximize its use of space. And so the amount of nervous tissue that is there for your fingers then is going to get allotted up based on how many fingers you have. And so the question is, if you're learning something since birth, what is the difference between
Mhm.
you and somebody who wants to put on artificial limbs as an adult? Can you start to approach the brain tissue allotment in the same way?
So that's the trick. That's
Yeah,
the thing they haven't figured out. That was
yeah,
not in the study of nature
no.
communications, which is, can we shoehorn an extra limb into your brain into your brain control?
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine that if you were to I don't know, if you were to practice often enough, it would be like learning to play the piano, learning to drive a car,
Mhm.
learning to use a pen, a pencil, any device. It would be a tool, and your brain will create pathways to make the use of that tool easier and easier over time. And so I don't know, would you have to put on those artificial limbs and never take them off? Would it be something that it would
Mm.
you could
Right.
take them off and put them down and your brain goes, "Okay, that's awesome." I'll just save that space for later. So
Yeah,
there'll be some really interesting questions. I mean, our brains are very plastic,
because
which
you'll
is
need to wash it.
right, you would need to wash it at some point. Your brain, that is. No.
Yes, the extra limb and the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's sort of like trying to teach yourself to write with the opposite hand, right? If you grew up
Mhm.
left-handed, trying to write right-handed, uh,
Exactly. Yep.
is it gonna be like that, or is it something even weirder or harder?
Well, and we always say, well, if you'd learn to play the piano or ride a bike or lots of things, or learn a language at a younger age, you have the advantage because you've got so much more absorption potential in your brain than when you get older and it's harder to adopt these things. But then you've got situations where, I know somebody who had a stroke. He was a very accomplished artist and his right side wasn't really working anymore. And now he draws with his left. Still really talented. It's just different. So I wonder, in those sorts of situations where you almost have an opportunity to be able to adopt some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or the people who relearn to talk by imagining themselves singing.
Or that. Yeah.
There's all kinds of weird brain
Yeah,
hacks.
all of it though. I mean, it'll be a massive learning curve, as with as we're seeing with all the brain control interfaces that are coming up in research. It's none of them are easy to take on, and something that would be an extra limb, that control would be kind of tough to make fine-tuned.
Well, something we like to consider our extra limb is our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Another limb that we love very much is our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
They're like 2 extra lobes of our brain.
It's true. Yeah. Just feeding good information every day.
All right, let's check out another lobe of our brain, the mailbag.
Daniel Nass in Cincinnati was at the mall recently. He said, I was at the food court in Kenwood Mall on Saturday in Cincinnati, and I discovered this kiosk. He also sent us a picture of the kiosk, which is an Uber kiosk. Daniel says, apparently Uber's trying to get new drivers in my area. Looks like an automated system you walk up to and automatically get connected to a recruiter at Uber. When I took the picture of the kiosk, a nice man sitting over to the right off camera stood up and asked if I had questions or if I ever had thought about driving for Uber. He said they have about 20-ish kiosks around the nation in malls trying to recruit more drivers. So his job was to get somebody excited enough to pick up the phone at the kiosk. Then an Uber recruiter would come on the screen and talk to you about driving for Uber and potentially fill out an application right then and there.
This is why I am not concerned that automation in the long term will wipe out all jobs. I'm not saying it won't disrupt things and there won't be problems, and there are, because there are, and we've talked about that. But look at this. Like, instead of being like, oh, we'll just put up a kiosk and that'll be it, they're like, no, we really need somebody there.
Standing there. Yeah.
Help
It's kind of
explain
like
it to you
waiting for you to get interested enough. See, I haven't been to, I don't know, I was in an open air mall recently, but I have not seen one of these kiosks, and I'm not sure how close the nearest one is to me, but it would, I would love to witness somebody being like, oh, cool, this is exactly what I've been meaning to do, and here's this kiosk, and now it's like very convenient for me.
Well, and instead of having to get all of your experts on talking to people about driving and spread them out to malls around the country, you have them all in one room in San Francisco, is my guess.
Yeah.
And then you can hire people who don't have that specialty to stand around by the kiosks and help people understand and do the kiosk to make the connection.
It's that personal connection.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the email, Daniel, and thanks to everybody who emails us every single day. And also, thanks to Dr. Kiki Sanford for being with us on the show. So good to have you. Let folks know where they can keep up with your fabulous work.
Thank you for having me on the show again. You can find my work. This Week in Science is my podcast. You can find it at twis.org, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dr. Kiki, DRKIKI.
Don't forget, folks, our goal each month is one more patron than last month. You could be the person that puts us over the top by becoming a member and getting access to all kinds of cool extra content as a member of patreon.com/DTNS. And if you'd like to join in live, one of the perks of being a patron is getting in the Discord, and you can listen in on the Good Day Internet channel as we record. You can also watch live at twitch.tv/GoodDayInternet.
Our email address is feedback at Daily Tech News Show. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Look at that. Protitude. Subscribe to Twis. Good job, Protitude. You won't regret it.
Good night, Rob.
Good night, Rob.
You won't regret it. You'll get all sort of science.
Sciencey goodness.
Yay, thank you.
Blair's Animal Corner. And Justin's Opinion Corner.
Oh, Justin's opinions.
They are entertaining and often very insightful.
That's actually, he is incredibly insightful. And so many times I'm like, oh, I wish I could get him to be quiet right now. And then he says something and I'm like, oh, he's totally
It's
right.
like, damn it. That was actually worth the time it took to say it. Good show. Good show. What should we call this show that we just did? We have suggestions at dtns.showbot.tv. Brains and Fingers and Robots, oh my.
That's a good one.
Yes, no, I don't care.
I thought we'd get more Princess Bride jokes.
I don't care.
Yes, no, I don't care.
Researchers fingering out polydactylism.
I think that one.
That's cute. I like it.
Born ready to sign in with Apple because Patrick is always born ready.
Born ready.
You can do it, Sarah. Motivation for your walking.
Thank you. That's motivation alone. Right there.
Yeah, the six-fingered man.
The six-fingered man.
Yeah.
5-finger salute to science. Teach an old dog new limbs. Giving robots the finger.
Oh, I like it.
Everyone calm down on iTunes. Good titles today.
You guys are punchy. I like giving robots the finger, but I'm not sure if it's descriptive enough. But I think it's clever.
We could do Brains and Fingers and Robots, oh my, then.
I like that one. Sure.
All right. That's going to be Brains and Fingers and Robots, oh my.
Oh my.
I already voted for that title. I know. I'm trying to copy it. All right. And then for Good Day Internet, Dental Tips Now show. DTNS. Dr. Kiki's SUN. We're not here.
We're not here.
I'm good with any of those.
They're funny.
Oh yeah, the copy entry is off. Yep, I could turn that on. Thanks, BioCat. Do you care? Good Day Internet, Roger?
Sorry.
Yes. No.
Oops.
Roger's not here.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yes. Okay.
What was? I saw. Let me see. We're not here.
Dental Tips Now show. We're not here, and Dr. Kiki's son, SUN.
I'm amazed no one made a polydactyl pterodactyl joke. Like, because you could have a periodactylist. Divided by half.
Wait. What? Yeah. Okay.
What?
Periodactyl polydactyl? I don't get the joke.
Periodontal polydactyl?
I think he's trying to do periodontal as a pun, which is
high
difficulty level.
So it would be periodactyl. That's the joke, not polydactyl, periodactyl. Okay.
We'll do the Dental Tips Now.
Dental Tips Now show.
I think I am a periodactyl because I had 6 wisdom teeth.
You had 6 wisdom teeth?
And it's not that uncommon, actually.
Did you have them all taken out?
Told me. I had 5 taken out when people usually get them taken out, like age 18. And then I had the 6th one taken out just a few years ago.
I had no wisdom teeth at age 18. I had my first wisdom tooth appeared at age 37.
Whoa. Oh, so they weren't like on x-rays or anything. They just weren't there.
They're like, oh, you don't have any wisdom teeth. That's weird. And then at age 37, my dentist was like, you have a wisdom tooth. Did you not ever get these taken out? I'm like, I didn't even have any. And she's like, well, never got one now.
It was just the one?
And it was just the one. And then 5 years later, another one. And they took that one out.
You're a late bloomer.
You go in for your x-rays. Weren't they like, okay, you've got a tooth growing back there. It'll be coming in.
Well, that's probably what they said once it started.
Yeah.
Although
I should explain, there was a 7-year gap of me not going to a dentist.
There we go.
That gave it some time.
Gave it some teeth.
Well, the 6th one, because it was 4 up top and 2 on the bottom. And
You got my wisdom teeth.
I know. I'm sorry. Now
Tom
you know.
is-
Now you know what I did.
I know where they were.
But it was the sixth one there was it was impacted, like it was up too high. It was just like it was way too invasive, and they were like, leave it, it'll never move. You'll never know. It's just gonna be a tooth living in your face. Well, it did. It did move. It took it about 20 years, but it finally became something where they were like, do you want braces again? Because if not, we got to take that tooth out because it's going to screw up everything because it's going to start pushing on the rest of your teeth
You're like,
when it
"Oh,
drops.
No, I
I
don't
know.
want braces again.
No,
Let's
I really
not do
don't.
that."
No.
So can
Now
you
that you
use
mention
your
it, I
wisdom
don't.
teeth to actually chew on?
Well, that's the idea, but
Yeah. I
they're
have all 4.
yeah.
I want new sets
my
of
head.
teeth. Like, how you lose your baby teeth. That'd be great.
I actually have my wisdom teeth.
In a drawer right next to you, right?
They're actually right.
That's it's
Sure.
just,
I love it.
I think somebody, I don't remember if they asked when I was younger, but they did ask when I had the one taken out a few years ago, which was not a fun experience, but whatever. They were like, do you want this? And I was like, no, no, I do not want that.
You don't,
I
want
hate
your,
this
you don't
tooth.
save your teeth when they pull them out?
No. No,
I
I don't.
wonder-
Why would I want that?
That way,
I
when
wonder,
something
though.
happens, a terrible accident, they'll have dental records and you can have the tooth to match.
But then how do they even know they were my teeth? They're out of my mouth.
It could have
They're
been
just teeth.
anybody's
It could be
tooth.
anybody's teeth.
Hey, we've got this tooth. Do you want it?
It's tooth fraud in the making.
Sure.
Listen, if you put it under your pillow, eventually, I'm sure it's gonna do something.
I found these stuffed animals. They were like weird ugly doll type things. They weren't ugly. They weren't the brand name ugly dolls, but they were like ugly dolls. And they had little baby teeth sewn into them. There's a mouth on the front.
Like real
and
teeth.
they
Oh,
were-
wow.
They were real teeth. Somebody had taken them and sewn them onto these ugly dolls' faces.
Oh,
It was very, very creepy.
That's not at all unsettling.
There's
There's my
Tom's,
teeth.
there's Tom's
There's
teeth.
the rest of my teeth.
Do you
Wow.
like it, teacher? Do you like the teeth?
Oh my goodness.
The teeth that didn't exist.
Yeah, so we
And here they are in
Proof
your
positive.
in your desk drawer
Yep.
I
where,
wonder
where they can be accessed easily.
See, and then,
whenever I need
and
another
then
tooth.
at Halloween, I can put them back in.
There were I think actually my parents did save my teeth for a while. I don't know if that is still around, but I think that was a thing that
I have
I don't
all-
know. That was something that they saved.
I wonder if I could make a necklace.
The tooth fairy
your own
has all of
teeth?
Kai's teeth.
Oh, you
I
could make a
mean,
necklace. Whether or not it's a cool necklace depends on your
Yeah,
craft.
I think that was more what I was wondering if I should.
I don't know. Have you not creeped out enough people in your life? Because that's a fast way to do it.
Oh, here's my mom texting me. She's gonna have a tooth answer.
She's like, I have all your
I
teeth.
have all your teeth, Sarah.
I still have your baby teeth.
Oh.
Well, all right. There we have it.
That's how
Make
parents
us a
control
necklace.
you. Don't you realize that? No.
Are
lot
those
of
shark
teeth.
teeth? No, those are my own baby teeth.
I fought myself.
Maybe I should make a tooth necklace. 'Cause I
Yeah.
didn't realize I even had this option. Like kind of drill a hole and make a kind of fun like puka shell type look. But they're teeth.
Yeah, and
They're
it's
my
what a
teeth.
conversation piece.
Yeah.
Every tooth was lost in a state of, I don't know. What would you lose your tooth in? Growth, age, sugar.
Here. Oh, this is it. Oh, I found the picture. I can. Here. Can I screen share? No.
Can you email it to me and I'll put it up.
Yeah, it's just the Google search. If you just look for, I just Google searched for stuffed doll with baby teeth. And it's seriously like the doll. It is the orange doll is the first doll that I found. And I gave it to my friend as a
That's like
present.
one of those searches where you're like, should have gone incognito mode.
Should have.
Baby teeth doll.
This will be something someone might ask me about one day. What about when you were gonna make a doll out of teeth? Yeah.
Did you find that?
Baby teeth.
See, it wasn't me this time.
Oh,
Blame Tom.
And how many of you have 8-year-olds?
I have a 2.5-year-old niece.
Okay.
That's where I got my exposure to that.
Yeah.
She's coming to visit at the end of the month. I'm very excited.
Yay.
Coming around the mountain when she comes.
Mhm.
Doo-doo-doo.
The best thing that my niece ever did was started singing a song out of nowhere to her parents. Daddy, daddy, watching me. Mommy, mommy, watching you. And they're like,
Okay, can you guys see that?
what is that?
Yeah, that's the doll.
I shared it on Twitch. So everyone on Twitch saw it.
Tooth Monster doll. Nice.
Monster doll. The orange one. I bought one just like that and gave it to my friends as a present. I really did.
Something about human teeth and something that isn't supposed to have them is very unsettling.
There's some kind of uncanny
know.
valley sort of thing going on, right? Yeah.
Uncanny smile or something.
There are people who don't like talking about teeth. They're not going to like this episode.
Are there teeth haters?
Or
I
teeth
feel like
phobia.
that's a thing where people are like, ugh, it creeps me out. I don't want to talk about teeth.
I know people dislike the dentist and sometimes have an
Oh, sure,
actual
yeah.
fear of it, but I didn't know it was like teeth in general.
It's like some people
Unless
don't
it-
like talking about feet.
Well, I'm not really crazy about that either.
I mean,
Mhm.
I talk
I
about
wouldn't say I
feet
have
for
a
shoes.
phobia, but I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Dentophobia. We should put a dentophobic warning.
There's
I guess it's sort of-
phobia is the
There-
fear of doctors.
I guess it's sort of that, I don't know, teeth, and it kind of reminds you of a skull, and you've got teeth that are
What,
out and about, and it just seems like
what do you call the fear of the doctor's bill?
being a human.
Dontaneri phobia is the fear of the tooth fairy.
What?
Yeah, the tooth fairy was a lot darker in its original incarnation.
Because it was what, stealing teeth rather than
Dontaneri.
giving you money?
Like the whole thing was like you're trying to buy off the spirit from taking the rest of you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know
the
that.
Sacrifice of the tooth to the spirit that would.
The tooth fairy
Asian.
always gave me a silver dollar. So it was just a
What?
dollar, but
Oh
it was
my
a silver
gosh.
dollar. So it was exciting.
Oh, my tooth fairy gave me like nickels.
Yeah.
It
I got a quarter from my front teeth. That was.
I probably didn't get a silver dollar the first time I lost a front. Well, I don't know. For a while, I was saving the silver dollars. Also,
Man.
who knows what happened? I
Those
probably
California
needed $20 at one
teeth
point.
fairies.
But
And then Nowadays,
yeah, no, it was
inflation,
fun.
the kids expect a lot more from the tooth fairy these days.
Right.
Yeah, what's the going rate? What's the tooth fairy leave these days?
Oh, well, the tooth fairy has gotten kind of lazy at our house, and it's, it can be a little bit of pocket change and a couple of dollar bills. But
Wow.
the tooth fairy
Oh.
has the tooth fairy because other friends got like $10 from the tooth fairy.
Mm,
The
yeah.
tooth fairy
And you
has
hear
had
about
to-
that.
The
Yeah.
You know,
fairy has had to live up to that standard.
Perhaps the tooth fairy should invest in a crypto coin called a tooth
I
coin.
I was going to say the same thing, Roger.
Here's your crypto tooth coin.
There's a note that with a Bitcoin address.
Here's a
written-
QR code. Scan it in.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A note that says the tooth fairy has deposited $100 in your college savings account.
There you go.
I'm surprised my parents didn't do that. That was what I would get for like first communion, graduation, those kind of non-birthday, non-Christmas holidays. I would always get like, we've deposited this much money in your college savings account.
Well,
I don't know
that
if
came
they
in
ever-
handy.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that money was ever used for college.
Where'd that money go, actually? Huh.
It was a bank account for college or whatever.
Or mom and dad's trip to Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, was that your college fund? Oh, that was we got
It's
our
a trip
bank
to
accounts wrong.
Disneyland.
Yeah, we could send Tom to college, or we could go to Galaxy's Edge by ourselves.
Hey,
I do
Mom, Dad,
remember.
when did you get Mickey Mouse ears? Oh,
Yeah,
we had
no,
some
We
it
did
was
have
happening.
we did
Sure.
this is a for real story. We had a jar of change that we were supposed to put part of our allowance in if we wanted. It was voluntary to save up for a trip to Disney World in
Mm.
Orlando, and we never went. And my sister and I never found out what happened to the jar of change. It just kind of disappeared one day. And,
Oh, so it wasn't you guys.
and then because my brother's 7 years younger than me, when I was like, I don't know, 24, I'm living in Austin, working full time, going to school. My sister's living in Tennessee, working full time at the Federal Reserve Bank. And my parents say, "Oh, we're finally going to Disney World. Do you want to come?" And they give us like a week's notice. So we're like, no, we can't.
We
My
can't.
brother got to go to Disney World and they sent us checks for the amount that would have been in the savings jar.
Okay, so they made good.
They made
Whatever.
good, but it was a little
on
feral,
some,
you know.
some
I'm like,
shrouded in
not-
mysterious
Passing this
circumstances.
check was not what I dreamed of as a child.
Right, of course. Right, yeah. Thanks, parents. Have fun with our younger brother.
It's hard to be parents.
Yeah,
hard.
no, it is. It gets
Yeah,
Follow
you can't.
through.
Well, one of the
Yeah.
things you learn early on is you can't be even. Like you can't just be straight that like 50-50 fair. You have to do it according to which kid will cause you the least amount of grief.
You're learning some good lessons there.
What if you're an only child and causing all of the grief?
Well, then
And what?
that's when mommy and daddy hire someone to take you away for a couple hours.
I did have a lot of babysitters. Yeah. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Babysitting is another thing where I remember.
I don't know if your editing is going out to the stream because some people are like, "Wait, did I just hear?"
Yeah, no, I just I apologized on Twitch.
Oh, I see. That
I
was
just
you.
realized it. It's like habit. You know, normally I could just mute on Hangout and it blocks everything.
Right. We're getting there. We're shakedown cruise.
But Carnival Cruise without what's her name, Kathy Gifford.
Shaq. Oh wait, no. Is he Carnival Cruise Lines?
He's a cruise line.
Shaq does a cruise commercial, but I don't remember which one. I guess it's not a very effective commercial if I don't remember which one it's for.
I just remember Shaq.
Like Shaquille O'Neal Shaq?
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was a cruise representative.
He's a man of many.
I would like to be on a cruise with him. Seems like a fun dude.
Yeah, that's kind of the implication is that if you take this
That
cruise
he'll
line,
that
you
he'll
can
be your
hang
friend
out
and
with
like hang
Shaq,
out with you
and
at dinner. Yeah.
kind of suspect that may not be what happens.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, so this is the weird thing. I generally don't like cruises because I just think they're a huge vector for all sorts of foodborne illness. But
I'm right there with you.
I didn't realize that like back in the 90s up into the early 2000s, there's this whole Star Trek like fan convention or thing cruise. It was called like Star Cruise or Sea Trek.
There are a few
No, it's
of
called
those
Sea Trek.
themed cruises.
But it was just like a convention that they would they would bring aboard some of the former actors or whatever from the movies, TV shows, and they would be on the cruise with you. It's like, how weird would that be? Stuck in a boat that you can't get off of, with like some really overly excited fans.
well, it depends on how much, some people love that.
Yeah. Jonathan Colton has been doing a cruise with all of his
Well, that's
fans
right.
and
That's right.
friends for years, and everybody who goes says it's a blast. So
Yeah, supposed to be a lot of fun. And I know Phil Plait has been on a couple of different cruises, like a Star Trek cruise, and then there's also been another couple that are science cruises where they have like astronomers and biologists. And
I have been curious. Scientific American always sends me ads for those science cruises. I think they're like co-sponsors of or something. They look interesting. Some of them go to like Antarctica,
yeah, go on a cruise, have scientists tell you about science. Woohoo!
Well, you're on a boat.
Well, we burn fossil fuels and pollute the local environment as we dump.
Well, the ones that sound really interesting, and I wonder if they're, again, it's like, is it the science version of getting fooled into thinking Shaq is on the cruise? But they're like, oh, well, we'll be giving you a lecture on the boat, and then you'll be able to see examples of what they're talking about, because we'll be going by the place where the penguins are hanging out, or we'll be visiting the historical ruins of the thing you were.
We will demonstrate how the ancient whalers harpooned the animals.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think they do that. I don't think that's such an allowed thing.
Yeah, there are some Galapagos science tours like that where they are going to talk about the ecology and the animals and all that kind of stuff. But I've heard recently that these Galapagos tours they're getting to be so many of them that it's starting to have a negative impact on the Galapagos.
Right.
It's like
there's like a struggle over whether they should limit, the amount of people, because the government wants to make that money.
well, I mean,
$2.
it's really hard to deal with a crush of people. I mean, even just touristy spots like that aren't designed to accommodate a high volume traffic. It's like I was reading something about the there's a Game of Thrones tour like in Northern Ireland and other parts of Europe where they show off all the filming locations for the series. And some of the places just like we can't handle it. Just so many people. I mean, the buses, the foot traffic, people constantly like taking photos in someone's backyard.
That's going to happen to all four of us. Eventually there'll be tours like, this is where Dr. Kiki did This Week in Science for 7,000 years. Because she had robotic brains.
Come to my basement.
This is where the DTNS burrito was invented. It's a nutritionally complete, but nutritionally complete meal, the single burrito.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of cool places to visit, next week I get to go to Santa Fe.
Oh, right. You guys are doing
Fun.
so many cool, like, in-person appearances for Twist. It's so much fun to hear about.
I'm so excited. And it's this festival. It's called the Interplanetary Festival, and it's going to be space and talking about aliens.
I love that word so much. Interplanetary.
Intergalactic.
Yeah,
It's half Carl Sagan and half Leonard Nimoy from In Search of.
It is. Yeah, it'll be fun. And then I get to go in search of lots of yummy food and cool art.
Yeah. I've been to Santa Fe once, but only very briefly. I didn't get to spend any time there.
I've never been to New Mexico at all.
That's where
Neither.
Serafina's from.
Oh yeah, I knew that. I've known some people who have lived in Albuquerque or Santa Fe. I don't know if I guess Serafina's probably the only one I know that's from there. But I've heard so many good things. I'm dying to go.
Yeah, me too. And everybody keeps telling me to go to this place called Meow Wolf. Meow Wolf.
Is it like meow, like kitty meow?
Yes.
Okay, I like it already.
Meow Wolf. And apparently the building is the landlord is George R.R. Martin.
Oh.
And he renovated it and rented it out to these people who created this it's like choose your own adventure, Burning Man art, like interactive, like light displays, and just supposed to be some really, really cool stuff there. Mind bending, man.
Yeah. Well, and if you bend your mind enough, you can fit in room to control a robot limb.
Yes, you can. I will do
You
it.
stay the night and you wake up with 2 extra arms. How cool is that?
It's better than waking up in the bathroom in Vegas with missing a kidney, right?
Well, it depends. If you made money off the kidney,
Depends on what you signed up for. Yeah.
If you signed up for
Are you
it.
just missing the kidney, or are you missing the kidney, but you have a stack of $100 bills?
Yeah, it's
100.
very,
That better
very
be
important.
those
to
better
The
be
honest
$1,000
kidney
bills.
thieves that leave you the market value of your kidney.
We took it without asking, but here you go. We'll compensate.
But we
you.
gave you the wholesale rate. We're not monsters. All right. Well, now that we've proved we're not monsters, I hope you all will trust
That's
us.
what a monster would say.
Yeah, I know, but we're not. We're really not.
We're really not.
Thanks for
Trust us.
joining us today, everyone, at twitch.tv/gooddayinternet and on Discord. And please have a good day.
Have a good day.
Good day, internet.
Thank you.
All right, we're done.
Stream
recording.
is done.
And I'm going to say Discord, you're always going to get a little extra because you're the first thing I start and the last thing we hang up on. So if you're listening on the Discord, don't feel like, oh, you're doing Twitch now. No, we'll give you secrets, Discord. Secret things.
Mhm.